Yo, what is up, y'all? Chavis here. I am back for a new review for the new project from Rick Ross. Rick Ross, Rick Ross is really someone I really have enjoyed throughout the years. I just like how smooth he is, how much he smooth talks on the beat over these like very lavish, luxurious production. Um, he's been doing this since 2006, like since the first Port of Miami back then, and since then he's just had hits. Since I was like small, he's been dropping like great stuff. Teflon Don is a classic. I don't care what anyone says. Go talk to someone else. Teflon Don is an absolute classic. There's still great songs on that album that I still listen to. It's just a great, and he's been dropping great stuff since. Like he's had great albums since then. So there's a lot of people that might say, "Oh, he's not," no, he's had great albums too since Teflon Don. Um, some not so great, but the majority have been great. Rick Ross is an absolute. Don't care what anyone says. He is a legend. He absolutely he is. So, but yeah, Rick Ross new album Set in Stone. It's here. This project, now the last project he dropped was bigger than ever. I think it was called. It was the one with the green album cover. I wasn't a fan of it. I thought it was very repetitive, very generic. I just thought it was a very generic sounding album. And he's kind of been in this controversy with Drake, where him and Drake aren't on great terms, and Drake was, saying he helped Rick Ross have hits, and somewhat that is true to an extent, because some of the biggest songs in the past few years that Rick Ross has had has been songs with Drake. But I do think Rick Ross can still hold his own. He's shown that. So I don't think he necessarily needs Drake. One thing I will say that he kind of was like, kind of made me kind of question some, was when he was on Twitter or his Instagram or something, and he was like, he's already got paid for his project. So even if the charts show something else, he's already got paid for it. So you got it in advance. That's what it kind of sounds like. You got in advance, like every artist has, before they drop. I don't really know what he was trying to say there. It almost sounds like he's trying to come up with something when the project won't chart. So that's just what it sounds like. But besides all of that stuff, the project Set in Stone is here. This project was 19 songs, so it is kind of long. But I think this album is hit or miss. I think it has its highs. I also think it definitely has it definitely has its times where it drags out some. I think the highs on this project are the tracks that have that very luxurious, slow, lavish production that really makes you sit and think and really makes you want to go and grind. That's what it does. And I think that's where he shines at, is those tracks where he's just talking some actual real shit. I think that is where Rick Ross shines, where he's being very braggadocious, being talking about how many cars he owns, how much lobster he eats, how much just all of that, how many bottles he pops. That's when I like Rick Ross, and I think the tracks on here that are like that are the best tracks, because he is really going off on those tracks. I really enjoyed those kind of tracks. I just don't like it when Rick Ross gets on these like trap anger tracks and where it's like very fast paced drums and heavy hitting, songs. He has some songs that do sound good that are very similar to that, but the majority of the time, I just think it sounds very like off. That's just not something from him I enjoy a whole lot. Now, it's like I said, he's got some that are kind of similar to that, but I just don't enjoy him on those kind of songs. That's just not where I think he shines at. Like, for example, the worst song on this album was Porsche GT. That track, and I do not get what this brand new sound of like artist, what this new thing is where they go high pitched. What is that? Like that thing, or that like very like high voice where they're like, I want you to suck my dick, I want you to eat my meat. Like that shit on here where he was like, I don't know what that is. Where you can't even really hear what's being said. And that really happened on here, because there were quite a few times on that track I had no idea what he was saying. Like, I had her in the city, or something similar to that sound. I don't know what that is. Future's been doing it. Rick Ross is now doing it, supposedly, I see. So I don't know what this brand new thing of doing that is. Please leave that to, like, to Gucci Mane or OJ Juice Man, because that's who it sounds like. And he's that to him. So, no. But Rick Ross on this album, the tracks I really enjoyed were Mahogany Caskets with T.I. And T.I. absolutely destroyed that verse. That was a great verse from T.I. That sounded like some classic T.I. That was that old school T.I. That 2004, 2005, 2006 T.I. That's what that was, though, there, where he was flowing and going off on that song. And I said this when T.I. just dropped his final project. That was, I even said I wasn't a fan of the project as a whole, but that was a good verse from T.I. It really was. I enjoyed Maybach Music 7 with Don Toliver, and it was a surprise feature from Jeezy. And I really like Jeezy a whole lot, so I think he sounded great on that song. I enjoyed Don Toliver's hook on there. I think that sounded really good. He had some really good features on this project. I really like the song with Heon Thomas, where they were paying tribute kind of to Nipsey Hussle. I enjoyed that song a whole lot. I really liked the majority of the features he had on here. I think did their job. Like, for example, he had Kodak, who I think actually sounded good on there. I enjoyed that song a whole lot too, with Kodak and Terezy. That was really, really good. I enjoyed the song with Leon Thomas. I really liked the song with T.I. That was probably one of my favorite tracks. I liked the song with Young Miami. I thought was okay. It wasn't anything crazy. He had kind of a tribute to the old school Miami sound on the last couple tracks. But the project as a whole is kind of like I'm saying. It has its highs. It also has its lows. I don't think this project is anything crazy or like has any songs on here that are like, oh my god, holy shit, he was going off. But I think there's tracks on here where he's really you know, showing that braggadocious side where he can really rap and really have that flow. But I just think there are tracks on here where he's like, he just doesn't sound good on those harder kind of trap the sounds. I just don't think that's where he shines at. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole project. I think there are highs on here. I think there are actual songs on here that are just not that great. So it's kind of a 50-50 project. There are tracks on here that I actually they're saved to my playlist. So we'll see. But it's a 50-50 album. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy. Have a great night. Stay happy. Stay safe. Comment your thoughts on the album below. Thank you guys. Come subscribe, like, share. It helps my channel out a lot. Have a great night. Stay happy. Stay safe. Stay inquisitive. Thank you guys. Have a good night and goodbye.